and I'm joined by Mr. Khaliphani Phugeni, spokesman for the MDCT, but speaking today in his personal capacity. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. How are you? Thank you so much for that disclaimer, because I think today's issues, they've got a lot of nuance in it, and looking at the prevailing conditions in the country, the bigotry that is, we spoke about it a few weeks ago, that you find the pickets all over. You find them in ZANU, MDCT, in churches, and then now we know that even in our government, you saw that letter that came from the government in response to the pastoral letter. It was sad really to see such a bigoted letter coming from the government.
Okay. I want us to deal with the important stuff.
Okay.
And then I know it's important what you just said, but I want us to leave that for the end.
Okay.
Mnangagwa just came from Bulawayo, where he made a very important agreement with Matabeleland Collective.
Yeah.
What is your view on that?
Well, you'll have to tell me what the agreement is about. I could only pick about 2 clips from ZPC. I am not immediately wiser as to what that agreement entails. So you, as the media person, you probably have more details than what the ZPC could give me. So I have no idea whatsoever what that agreement that you call important agreement. I saw your reporting. I must commend you. I think you are more nuanced now on this matter than you were 5 months ago when you had an interview around it.
Okay, so let's start with the issue of reburials, identification of bodies, provision of death certificates, and reburials from the area called Balago in Matopos. That is a very big change in approach by the government. Is that not important?
No, of course. If the standard is President Robert Mugabe, prime evil himself, that's something well to celebrate, because that standard was so low. I think it was even buried really beneath the soil. So if that's the standard, we can celebrate. That's groundbreaking. That's okay. But if the standard is fairness, human dignity, justice, and attending our sins of the past as a nation, I think you will excuse those that don't feel as excited as you are, because this is a bad chapter which I think happened in 1987. So if you are to celebrate now, I think 1987 to now, that's certainly close to 35 years or so. So when you are celebrating people getting birth certificates. Now, why now? What was the problem all along?
This is the point I'm trying to make. This has been a very difficult topic to deal with.
Yes.
The government of Robert Mugabe did not want to even talk about this issue. You could get arrested for saying the word Gukurahundi in Zimbabwe. There are people who went to jail.
Minister Mzila was arrested.
Yes. So now you have a president who goes into an aeroplane and spends the whole day speaking to ordinary people about such a difficult topic. This is why I want to understand what people think about it. I'm talking to a lot of people, including yourself, obviously.
Yeah. No. Take nothing away from the president, although I think he was put in a very a compromising situation. Because remember, the bishops, the Catholic bishops of Zimbabwe wrote that pastoral letter which they wrote. From that pastoral letter, the government of President Mnangagwa responded in a very bigoted manner. They responded by doing this. They responded by dividing the bishops. So what did they do? They look at the bishops. They look at their surnames and their first names. They see a Ndebele bishop there. They isolate him from all other bishops, and they actually make that whole issue his issue. So in other words, they profile him, they say Ndebele, they put him aside, they isolate him. After isolating, they hit him hard. And I can tell you what was the intention. The intention was to silence him, number one. Number two, the intention was to divide them. So basically, you are not Ndebele, this is not your issue. It's not your issue, this is this guy's issue. We're going to go after him. Now, I want you to make a follow-up on this matter, because remember, there is a Bishop Pius Ncube, I think, who went more or less the same thing, although he was addressing different issues. But he was isolated, he was profiled, he was targeted, and he was hit very hard. So follow Bishop Ndlovu closely from now until 5 years and see what's going to happen. Follow also that Bishops' Conference and see if they're not going to be divided. So if you look at that, you really feel sorry for HE, because it's his government that did that. And what makes matters worse is that up to now, they have not disowned that letter. And a lot of people are saying that's Honorable Mutswaka's letter. No, it's not her letter. She writes clear that the government of Zimbabwe, that's the letter from government. Up to today, the government have not disowned that picketed letter. So I really feel sorry for him. I do not know, I mustn't impute motives into yesterday's trip, but I think after that letter, something needed to happen, because a Minister Ziyambi intervention was not good enough.
Okay, but I want us to separate Gukurahundi from a letter that was written last week. Gukurahundi is an issue that has been discussed by Mnangagwa's government. Since we talked, the reason why me and you were talking about this issue 5 months ago is because Mnangagwa was in Bulawayo to discuss the issue. So I cannot say he only started yesterday to deal with this issue. Now, I can see from the comments on my post, which are a lot, that there's other issues that have got nothing to do with Gukurahundi. Is this not what we're doing here now? That
okay,
the issue of bishops is just another issue, another complaint.
Okay, I did not say he started this yesterday. Remember, I said to you, I really sympathize with him, the position he was put in by his government, because you contrasted his government with that of President Mugabe. And I said, if President Mugabe is a standard, the standard is too low. And I have told you that him as a person, obviously he has extended a hand out there to try and engage with this matter a bit more meaningful than his predecessor. But it is his government, you see. And I'm saying to you, his government, in that letter, which they wrote through the government spokesperson, they really left him with no option but to do something. Why do I even suspect that this had to do with that? It's because the secretary for Matebeleland Collective says this thing was not on the diary. That's what he says. That's what she says in that ZBC clip. And the HE had to clear a lot of things from his diary. This thing was put up together last minute. I'm not quoting a verbatim, but the inference really goes there. That's what she said. So I'm saying to you, it's commendable that people are allowed to speak freely. But it's unfortunate that the government has not disowned that letter, because the letter was addressing the issue. It was responding to an issue of Gukurahundi, which the bishops had raised. The bishops had said, this issue has not been resolved, and it's giving birth to more angry, younger generations. That's what the letter from the bishop said. And it said, can we resolve this issue? And in resolving it, it must be a victim-led process. And that is then you got that angry and bigoted response from the government of Zimbabwe.
Okay. If the death certificates are given and the remains are identified and they are reburied, children are given birth certificates and compensation is given, apologies is given, the process is led by chiefs. Is the issue of Gukurahundi going to have been solved?
Look, why should it be led by chiefs? The suggestion, and it's a correct suggestion, that's what I told you 5 months ago. The process must be victim-led. And let me assist you here, Kambako, because I realize that this is where a lot of people miss it. There's a text in the Bible. This is what it says. After 40 years of hardships, the children of Israel, being strangers, another word for it is foreigners in Egypt, God takes them out of Egypt. He sends them to a land flowing with milk and honey. He promises that all of their needs will be taken care of, and they are going to live as kings and queens. He then says to them, and this is my point, this is very, very important. He then says to them, make sure that you do not afflict a stranger. And he tells them the reason. He says, because you yourselves were strangers in the land of Egypt. So basically, I'm saying to you, it is important if you are going to do a process that is worth even the paper it's written on or worth talking about, that you let the victims lead that process, because that process will bring about an outcome that cannot be contested. Now, I'll give you an example. 5 months ago, when you and me spoke, we had a lot of groups pulling out of Matebele and a collective. They were aggrieved. You see, so now I don't know whether those grievances have now been addressed. So the point I am bringing is that do not impose chiefs. They have a role to play. They must be there as well. But the most important constituents is the victims. Allow them to lead that process. Don't deny them that opportunity.
Okay, who are the victims?
Well, one of them you are speaking to.
Okay, but has anyone prevented you from going?
Wait. My grandfather, he died because they were dropping plastic. They put plastic on fire, and it was just drops until he died. Right? So you are sitting here. I can tell you a lot of extended family and whatever. I'm born from Cholocho. Huh? Some of my grandfather's cousins were actually buried alive. So you'll have to deal with my extended family and deal with all those issues. But I can tell you that none of us have been consulted. None of us have been spoken to. You see,
yeah, but this is what I'm saying.
No, wait. But this interview has less to do with me, Kambakwe, really. I really want to speak on behalf of the victims in general, and you can actually exclude me even from there. So I'm saying to you, it is very, very important that this process is not cosmetic. You are not putting a bandage over a septic wound and pretending like you have dealt with the wound. No, it must be an inclusive process. That's not to say it's deliberately not inclusive. But I can tell you right now, it's worrying that there are groups that pulled out of Mateben Collective, and those issues need to be addressed.
Okay, I want to go back to where you started.
Yeah.
Which is to say, you have not been consulted.
Yes.
What I want to know is that if the chiefs are involved and they cover certain areas,
yeah.
Let's say the chief for Cholocho, and that chief is responsible for identifying all the people that were killed and providing birth certificate. Is there anything wrong with that process? What else needs to be done?
No. You are imposing a narrative which I didn't suggest. I did not say the chiefs must not be involved. I am simply making a point that you can't exclude victims. That's the point that I'm making. Because you then want me to almost unilaterally present all the victims and say this is the correct solution. No, allow the victims to lead you and tell you what will be satisfactory for them. You may be surprised that they may tell you that actually we want our chiefs to represent us. That's the point that I'm making, Kaba. I'm simply saying, give the victims their agency, give them their voice, allow them to tell you what will work for them. Be patient with that process. It's a very sensitive, but also a necessary process.
I'm trying to understand. You see, because I'm not a victim, so I don't understand the way you do. How would the government be able to reach the victim before talking to the representatives?
No. Look, that is not a problem. Trust me. If I've just said to you, there are a lot of organizations that left 5 months ago when you and me spoke. You need to find out why did they leave and have they been engaged. But I can tell you right now, if you are saying, okay, this is what we want done, all the victims go to this government office, this and that, you will easily get all of them come. But if you have a process, I've just given you an example. Myself, I didn't know about it until you brought it to my attention. I didn't know that there was something yesterday until you brought it to my attention and said you want to interview me about it. So I'm saying to you, I am not even represented there.
Okay. My question still stands.
Now, I want you to appreciate this. I'm not raising this as an aggrieved person, so to speak, and using this platform for that. I'm trying to use myself as an example to show you that if someone who's got a platform like myself, who's got a voice like myself, is left out of the process, how much more of a legally known Gogo Dlamini and a Gogo Mate in some deep rural Matebele land?
Okay, so I get you totally on the issue of communication, but I guess that is where the question that I've asked you comes back. If those processes that they proposed by Matebele Collective happen, is that issue going to be dead? Is it going to be finished, or there's still more to be done? If people are found, the bodies are found, they are tagged, the death certificates are done, they are reburied, the children are compensated, and the traditional processes are done. Is that what is needed?
I keep going back. I'm saying to you, there's nothing wrong with that process. I'm not impeaching it, by the way. I think it's the most decent thing any human being can do. Never mind the government. Any human being can do it. It's a very decent thing to do. But there's one important thing, and I don't know why you keep going there. Don't exclude the victims. Allow the victims to tell you the most appropriate way to help them. Because I think we're doing this process to help the victims. So why do we seem to almost want to exclude them in a systematic way?
Are you saying Matebele Collective is not sufficient?
No, but you and me, you were interviewing me 5 months ago because there were people that left that umbrella body. You know that there were groups that left. And I'm giving you an example with someone that you can know. I'm not talking of a hypothetical situation. I am saying my family is one of the victims. Dr. Kupe is one of the victims. We only got to know about this thing over the weekend. So I'm trying to show you that there is a need. I'm not impeaching Matebele Collective, by the way. Very good initiative. I'm actually proud of them. So make no mistake about that. I'm very proud of them. But maybe this is the point I'm making. We can be more inclusive in this process. The process can be open and be more inclusive. That's the point that I'm raising.
Okay, so should we stop the process until it's inclusive, or should efforts be going on the side while the process is ongoing?
No. I did not advocate for the stopping of the process. But I want to show you why the process has to be inclusive, because I keep trying to make this point and clearly I'm not getting through. So let me try one more time. And I'm trying to use people that you know and that the general populace know, so that this conversation can be practical. You know Chief Ndlovu very well, right? Our Treasurer General, you know him, right? Right. Chief Ndlovu is also a victim. His brother was killed. His brother, his blood brother was killed. He actually raised those children. Now, Chief Ndlovu loses his ID, so he's going to apply for a new ID. When he gets there, the officer for the Registrar General tells Chief Ndlovu that where he claims that is coming from, there is no place like that. Are you following this?
Yes.
That's the legacy of that Gukurahundi. So you have people that are not from the area, but who are then supposed to superintend over social and government issues of the area. So when a chief goes to apply for this thing, he is then told that, no, you can't get an IT because the place you are claiming that you come from, actually, there's no place like that in this place called Tinkai. So how does he feel? Immediately he's reminded that he's in this situation because of this and that thing that happened. So you need him there also to tell his experience. Now, this person you are speaking to, you know that my name was butchered. You know my name is Khaliphani, but my name is spelled Kalpani. So completely no relationship. I'm trying to change that name for the past 15 years. I am not able because they tell me that I must come with a school certificate with my correct name. Where am I going to get a school certificate with my correct name? Because the school certificate gets the details from my national ID or my birth certificate. You see? So there are these things, they look minor to you, but to me, to us as victims, they mean a lot. So that's why I'm saying, let's expand this process. We don't have to stop, but let's expand it. Let's make it more inclusive. So you'll find that there are other victims that have other stories. Not all stories are related with killing and cold murder and whatsoever. Some of them may be a situation like mine. Some of them may be a situation like Chief's situation. But if we include everyone, then you will comprehensively deal with this problem. Because your question was, if we do A, B, C, D, will this problem go away? Not necessarily, especially if it's not widely inclusive. So you must open it up so that it becomes inclusive. You deal with this matter, you put it away. So a Khaliphani Phugeni will have his name properly written Khaliphani, not Kalpan. I mean, I don't know what that means. And I'm trying to change that, and I'm failing. I've got an audience, I've got a platform, I've got a voice, I've got agency, you know that. So how many more people who don't have a voice, who don't have an agency, who don't have a platform, are facing even more serious challenges than myself?
Okay, so I'm happy about the issue you raised of being inclusive, of being victim-led. But there's another issue that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Which is the issue of being represented. I've seen this in a lot of comments that I get. People feel that the people who are in Machiavellian Collective are not representing everyone and they don't understand their issues. They feel that people who are in the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission, they are not the right people to be there. The people who are actually in that commission are not the right people. Who is supposed to make the next move now? Is it the government or is it the people that pulled out who are supposed to present a position paper?
I am glad you are now making my point for me, because I was at pains to make this point for you, to say it is very, very important that the process is victim-led. So to the extent that you now acknowledge that there are outcries there that are saying Machiavellian Collective is not sufficiently representative of the victims, and we are also saying the government, the peace and nation building the commission is also not appropriately. But let me say this to you. The government one, I can speak a bit to it because I know there is Justice Nare there. There is the retired judge, Justice Nare. I know there is also Leslie Ncube, who is the son of Matepelele, the South State Minister. It is important to also note that the exhumation that happened in Cholocho, I think I spoke to in one of the interviews I did with one broadcaster, it was not you. It happened largely as a result of those two people that I've just mentioned. They do not know that I have this information, but I know the difficulties they went through. I know how they struggled to convince some gatekeepers, and the credit also goes to the president here, because the gatekeepers think they are doing him a favor, and I understand it took the president to really personally make sure that those exhumations do happen and those people are buried with dignity and all those things. Now, it shows you why when you have people that are victims in one shape or form, the process can really move. But when we have ignorant people, and I'm not saying this in a negative light, Kabakwe, I'm just saying it in its academic form. If you've got ignorant people like yourself who really are not that affected, and you probably do not even understand the value of certain processes definitely happening in line with the customs and traditions, the process will not move. You see, then we're put into technicalities. And let me make this point, this broader point. When we are saying, can it be victim-led? We are not accusing anyone, by the way, of anything. We are not saying those who are not victims are biased. We are not saying they are the instigators or the perpetrators. No, that is not what we are saying. We are simply saying, allow the victims to have this done in a manner that will satisfy them.
Okay, so Matabeleland Collective is not sufficiently representative. But
it's you who said that.
Yes,
it's you who
I'm saying that because
I don't know them much to make that type of comment. So I don't know them that much to make that type of comment. But I must
that is
say
the comment I'm getting from a lot of people.
Very proud. I'm very proud of the work they are doing. Is it sufficient? I do not know.
Okay, the guys who have pulled out, have they presented a position paper? Have they been prevented from coming into the process?
I do not know. It's something that maybe I will have to make a follow-up on. I realize that I probably haven't dedicated sufficient time to this matter. And it's something that I promise you that I am now really going to be hands-on. I will try and make my own time, contact the commission's chairperson, which is Justice Nare, and try and make a follow-up. And I'll also try to contact the Matabeleland Collective and see if they have information on why those people pulled out, and try and follow up with those people that pulled out, and then we can have a follow-up interview on it.
Okay, there's then another statement that has been said that says there's no Shona person who should be involved in the process and in the commission. I've seen that being said. Is that the correct position?
Look, I can almost sympathize with both parties, but I think there are better ways of putting it. I think when the bishops said, let it be a victim-led process, that's basically what they were saying. Because when you put it in that manner, it's almost as if you are accusing genuine people. I'll give you an example. There's a young man which you and me know. His name is Lawrence Mavaire. His father is a former governor of Masvingo. You won't get a more passionate person for Matabeleland justice than that young man. And he is not in any way, shape, or form Ndebele or any of the languages or tribes in Matabeleland, but he's passionate about it. And even in that passion, he understands that you must allow the people of that region to lead this process. And what you do is you support them with whichever way possible. You just support them, but allow them to lead the process. So I think when you use such strong language and strong terms, you invite opposition even where you couldn't get some opposition. But I agree with the bishops, allow the process to be victim-led.
Okay. Is it not also that there are some people that feel that they've been fighting for this issue for so long and it's being hijacked?
That may well be the case, which will be very unfortunate, because this is not, this should not be used as political football. I will be very happy. I'll give you an example. Even in my political ideology, Kambako, I don't mind. I hear people saying, no, but if you do this, ZANU will steal our policies and implement them, and people think it's them, they won't credit us. I'm fine with that, by the way. If my policies are such progressive that they will help the masses of our people, I don't care who implements it, right? So if this fight is now coming to its logical conclusion as a result of other people, I don't mind, but you must be sensitive to what the victims are saying. I think that is very, very important. You must be sensitive to the feelings and the input of the victims.
Okay, I think I've understood the side of the victims, but obviously there's the side of the government. Should the government side be also victim-led?
What is that side of the government?
Because when you're engaging with government and you are the victims, right? You're engaging with someone. Do the people in government sufficiently understand the issues? Because the commission is the part of the government.
Yeah, you see, this commission you are talking about, that's why I say to you, I am happy that it's led by retired Justice Nare. I'm very happy about that. I'm also happy that that young man, Leslie Ncube, you know he's a ZANU-PF guy, right? You know that. You know that I think he was the Secretary General of the ZANU Youth League, right? And you know I'm MDC. I really have nothing to do with ZANU. We fought with them over so many years. But because he is part of the victims. So I am comfortable with his presence there because his presence will be very, very helpful in making, at least helping the government appreciate what they are dealing with and how best can they assist the aggrieved communities.
Okay, so if the groups that have pulled out said we don't want any Shona commissioners because we need to deal with the real issues. They said we don't want any Shona commissioners. If the government refuses to budge, is that a deal breaker?
Well, it will be unfortunate. I've already told you that I think the language is very strong. It's one that I'm very uncomfortable with. But the government must act in the best interest of victims, you see? So the government will have to be a bigger person. But even more than that, I am sure that those commissioners are sensible enough to say, at least on this part of Gukurahundi, we will not take part in it, you know, if that will help the victims. Because what we need is, we need to get to a settlement of this matter. So it doesn't help to say, whether you like it or not, I'm a commissioner, I'm going to sit in this thing. It won't help the victims. And it doesn't show the government. Remember what H.E. said when he was exalted into this seat. He said, the voice of the people is the voice of God. And in this case, really the people that matter, or rather the people in this case, is the victims. And if it's the victims that are saying, we would appreciate the commissioners to be those that have an understanding of what we went through, I think that in that proverbial promise from the president, it is the voice of God.
I see that this is probably going to be a very big sticking point from the side of the government, because obviously, as a victim, you could understand that. But from the government side, then they feel like you're accusing the whole tribe of having participated.
No, that's why I'm saying it will be extremely immature of the government. Then that letter, which they have not disowned, which I've made reference to, I mean, you need to go and look at the verbs that are used there. Very inflammatory, extremely arrogant, almost telling the people of Materen to go and jump because it speaks of petty regional issues. I don't know what is petty about Gukurahundi, by the way. But here's a point that I'm bringing. I'm saying to you, the choice of words of saying we don't want any Shona people, that's a very strong term. I wouldn't like to use that. That's why I'm sticking to the bishop's one that says it's a victim-led process. Now, a government that is listening will then say, if we have this type of process and it will help, that will be welcome. But to force, I gave you an example last time when we had this interview 5 months ago. You cannot insist on coming at a funeral if I'm the grieving person and I'm saying I don't want you there, and then you say we're coming there. You can't do that. You can't do that. So if indeed this is about victims and we want to help them and we acknowledge the injustices, the evilness of the past, and we want to deal with it, we are not going to deal with it by imposing solutions that are not helping but that are aggravating the situation.
Right, so if we end up with commissioners who only speak one language, and I am a victim, but I'm not from that language, is it going to be fair?
Look, let me say this to you. the process is not going to be 100% fair proof, you know, sorry, unfairness proof or unfair proof, or whichever one applies. But in the main, we know that the people that carried out these heinous atrocities were drawn out from the Mashonaland tribe. We also know that they carried them out mostly to people who could not speak the language. So what they wanted to find out is, can you speak Shona? If you couldn't speak Shona, you're dead. So it is not unreasonable, therefore, to expect that there will be very few people from the victim's side who cannot speak Ndebele or any of the Matabeleland dialects.
Then there's the issue of retribution or punishment for the perpetrators. I've seen that being raised a lot.
Yes.
What is your view on that?
Yeah, the bishops also raised it, although they, of course, those are pastors, so they raised it with international, I think they also spoke about criminal whatever, but they did speak about it. Again, this is a matter about the victims. You see, let me put it to you this way. It is the impunity of the Gukurahundi atrocities that brought about Murambatsvina. And then it is the impunity of Gukurahundi Murambatsvina that brought about the violence in the runoff. And then it is the impunity of Gukurahundi Murambatsvina, the runoff, that is giving birth to all of these disputes in the country. Because you are saying that people can commit the most atrocious crimes against other people, and there will be zero consequences. So I think we need to look at that and say, how do we approach these things of impunity? Maybe you must think of an amnesty. Maybe you must think of a truth and reconciliation, like what happened in South Africa. The problem which is there is exactly as you saw. The bishops write a letter, the government profiles them, isolate one bishop, hits him hard, and basically says, you talk about Gukurahundi, you talk about addressing those things, you are sowing divisions, actually you are tribalist, you are regionalist, and all those things. Talk about being tone deaf. I mean, I just can't understand for the life of me, why does the government allow its name to be dragged in such a thick mud like this?
Is it possible that this process, instead of bringing about healing and closure, could ignite even worse conflict?
No. It will not get there. That is why I'm saying to you, I'm actually happy that HE cleared his diary. If Mayor Jenny Williams has to be believed, and I have no reason to doubt her, that he cleared his diary and this was not a part of the plan, and he quickly did this. And I think he was mindful of that inflammatory letter from the government in response to the bishops that then really told the people of Matabeleland to go and jump in a lake. So I'm quite positive that he is cognizant that this matter cannot completely get out of hand like it has already done. So I'm on that front. I'm quite positive that is equal to the task.
Okay, then there are those people that say Mnangagwa should not be involved at all in this matter.
No, it's not. It's I sympathize with them, but it's not possible, and I'll explain to you. President Mnangagwa is involved in his capacity as the president of the country. It is the government and the head of government. It is the government of Zimbabwe that killed, that committed the Gukurahundi atrocities. It is the government of Zimbabwe. He is now the head of that government. If there is anything that will happen, you will need the head of government to lead in that process. And it is in that capacity that you cannot exclude him.
Okay, Mr. Khaliphani Phugeni, and I'm almost feeling like we could go on for another hour, because as we talk, we are getting more and more clarity. Unfortunately, I think we need to give people time to digest and to respond.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I suggest I'm going to have more guests later on tonight,
okay,
who are more radical than you. Then we'll also hear what they say.
Okay.
But I would like to get a sense from you. Do the people of Matabeleland still understand this issue, or it is now almost an issue that is clouded in almost urban? It's almost like an urban legend. No one really knows, because 40 years is a long time. How many people who were there are still there now?
I'm quite happy because your Ndebele is fluent. And you know, we did that interview when you spoke about Dr. Kupe filling positions with their friends. A lot of people said you are a tribalist. They were so wrong. Me and you, when we talk privately, actually, it's me who normally jumps to English. You always talk to me in Zulu or Ndebele, and there are many things about you that a lot of people do not know. You brought me into your platform because you said at the time, you said a lot of people think that people from Matabeleland have nothing to offer, they are just useless, and I want to showcase that Dr. Kupe has sharp brains around it. That's what you said to me, and you brought me into the platform today. So many people have heard our voice because of you. So no tribalist will do that. But this is the point that I want to make. I needed to make that point for you, and I'm sorry for revealing our private conversations. But this is the point that I want to make. There is a Ndebele saying that says, "Isihlangu sichisa osigqokileyo." So you'll do that in English. I'm not very good with English. You are the intelligent one. So basically, of course, people are just commenting from the sides. Yeah, it's nothing to them. It's long ago. But to the victims, it's as vivid as yesterday. Let me give you an example. There are about 3 generations now that don't have birth certificates, right? So what that means is that their livelihood has been taken away, because without documents, there's nothing you can do. So every time when a question is asked, when they look at this generational poverty and the state of want, what do you think comes to their mind? They know that they're in this situation because of Gukurahundi. So no, it's not a distance memory for victims. It is a distance memory for those that are enjoying tribal privileges. That's what I call them. So when you're enjoying tribal privileges, you don't appreciate the harm that and the legacy and how devastating the legacy of Gukurahundi is. So no, my friend, it's not urban legend. This is painful. This has affected so many lives. I mean, look, and the bishops raised this in their letter. The farms issue, it's a 2000 issue. There's already a settlement done, dusted. The Gukurahundi issue, we're not even into settlements. Right now, we're celebrating birth certificate and death certificate. Really? So we are not even talking of any meaningful settlement. The education lost, the healthcare, livelihoods, dignity, and so many things. All of those things are not there. And do you know why? Because the victims don't have the agency. The white people that Britain, America, Australia, and the whole West speaking on their behalf, and the ambassadors, but the victims, they don't have the media. You are at least trying, like I said, at least your analysis is better now than 5 months ago. You are trying, but all the other media will not touch this matter. When they touch it, it's so superficial, they don't even want to go deep and really deal with the issues. So yeah, it's a sad reality, but that's the reality we're living in. So we choose to shoulder on and go on, soldier on, and other people think, no, this is an equal one, united a country, like you saw what the letter of the government said. When you raise Gukurahundi issues, you want to divide the nation, you want to break the nation. They think this is integrated. They don't want to accept that there are two people living in this country. They are first-class citizens and they are second-class citizens. And it's a sad thing. And I must say, this president is trying hard to address those matters. It's just that his government is not helping him. I don't know whether it's sabotage or it's purely ignorance and heartlessness. I don't know.
Okay, Mr. Khaliphani Phugeni, my dogs have just invaded my space here because I've been speaking for so long. So what I want to do is,
you keep dogs now. You must come back home. You must come back home and deal with real issues. You can't be sitting here with dogs and behaving like. Okay, let me just do it.
So I want to make to actually focus on the key point you made. Yeah. That Mnangagwa cannot not be part of the process. He has to be in the process.
Yes.
That's a very big point for many people that I talk to. And I think I'll make this the headline so that we focus on it. I think
this is my request. This is my request, my friend. I know sometimes you edit for whatever reason, but please don't edit this one. Because the matters we're dealing with are so emotive. So you may edit some things that are very important for context. And then I may be completely taken out of context. And then what we would have done a disservice to our people. The president has to be involved as a head of government. And so if this is a government trying to deal with the sins of the past, you need the leader of government to lead in this process.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Phugeni. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
No, I want to thank you and the rest of the media. I think daily you are becoming more inclusive. You are beginning to have a plurality of voices. And I really, really want to thank you. Print media is also trying. It's unfortunate that our people don't have data. So I'll appeal to you that come back home, let's get a paper, hard copies, so you can broaden your media house and these things that we're doing, they can go as far as possible. And you can use your skills as well to reduce this interview to audio, because then audio, the file will be smaller. Then you can send it around WhatsApp groups, then it will go. It is important that our people get the information. And I'll make a mistake if I do not say this. We have an opportunity before us as a people to deal with the past, put it behind us, and move forward, all of us, and build one country. This is the only country we have. It can never go like it went in Syria. It can never. It will be terrible. It will be bad. What we have right now will look like a picnic.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Khaliphani Phugeni. I hope to have you back very soon on this very topic. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. Goodbye. And to the listeners at home.